What if the future of HR has less to do with policies and everything to do with leading the business through change? Today, I'm joined by 4 of my former Nokia colleagues and dear friends who've led people, culture, and transformation inside some of the world's largest organizations. We dive into why employees don't trust HR, how artificial intelligence is completely reshaping the profession, why psychological safety may become HR's most important responsibility, and what separates strategic HR leaders from everyone else. If you're in HR, lead people, or want a front row seat to where the workplace is headed, this episode is one you don't want to miss. Let's get into it. I am so excited. I mean, we talk all the time, all of us, but it is so nice to have everybody here on this podcast. So Sergio, your second time on the show, so that will be exciting. So what we do every episode is we read a story about how HR has let people down. So let me just read. This is a very brief one. Story time. We got a confidential employee survey handed to us at work. It had our employee number at the top of the page. Nice confidential survey, huh? Anyways, one of the things that we have talked about in this book, some of the feedback that we received is that HR is often lacking empathy and that employees don't trust us. So do you think that's fair?
I believe it's kind of fair. I mean, most of the time you feel that what we say is not what we do. And so sometimes we have high ambitions to deliver great value. But is the management of the company really behind it? Is it that important for them? And that's this disconnect which creates basically the bad reputation of HR. We don't have the credibility because we don't deliver on our promise. Quite often.
That's a good one.
I mean, I think trust is critical for HR. You have to work actively on building it. I think also, for me at least, when we work with really tough things in HR, I think at some point you kind of get to the point where you have to decide on your values. So how do you position yourself? And they become more important. And can people count on what you say? And do you treat them with respect? And can they trust you, essentially?
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
I think there is also another aspect that is important. For sure, there is values. For sure, there are sometimes policies that also we need to follow. But I think sometimes trust is not coming because people feel that we don't understand them. And we don't understand the business they are confronted with. We don't understand the challenges they are having from their customers or with the technology. And we talk about A and they answer about B, and we don't understand each other. I think in many cases there is this gap that creates also a sense of missing trust between the two organizations.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And I think that's the right next question is, why would they think that? To write off an entire organization and on a trust basis makes me wonder what's going on. Why would anybody say that? What happened? Is it by design? Is it because of some sort of a leadership issue? But that's a pretty hard accusation for a whole organization to say, we don't trust any of them.
It's true. But you know what was so funny is when we did our research for this book, we found that 64% of our respondents had a bad experience with HR. Like what we just said, where, this is an anonymous survey, but yet your employee number is at the top. Or mostly it comes down to there's a perception among employees that we are only here to protect the company. And in fact, several executives, when asked what's the role of HR, they said to protect the company. So there's a reason why there's that perception that we're not really there for employees. But also, we do have some bad actors, as we all know. We have those people that use their position of having access to information as sort of a power play, right? I'm going to gossip about somebody, or I'm going to use this information against them. There are those types of folks. And then there's situations like we're the ones that are administering layoffs, right? We don't have anything to do with making those decisions. All we can do is try and influence, but we're delivering the message nonetheless.
That sounds like a bit of a misalignment issue, Amy.
Mm-hmm.
Between the business stakeholders and expectations of HR. Aside from the bad behavior is bad behavior, but that comes through dialogue and expectations of what's HR's role in the company.
Exactly.
But I feel quite often we tell ourselves a story like we tell employees a story, because the reality, if you think about the hierarchy of our customers, employees are not going to be at the top. I've never seen a company where employees is at the top of priorities for HR. We have first to serve the shareholders, the top management, because they're the one giving the long-term high-level direction for us as a function. We one function amongst the others. Yes, we're dealing with people matters. We're dealing with people more than the other function, but at the end of the day, our fundamental mission is still to help the company reach its strategic objectives before making employee happy. And as long as we believe something else, we end up in a double bind. We can't get out of it. And that's why somehow we don't manage to build a credibility, because we're not always 100% clear about what we're here for and what we're supposed to do.
But isn't that where
double bind I'm talking about, the contradiction. Yeah, paradox.
Isn't that where the company values come into play? I think in companies like, Starbucks, when they first started, the whole concept was happy employees, or, happy customers, right? And it was very much focused on people first. So I think there's really good examples out there, but again, it comes from the leadership.
You're absolutely right. But it also comes down what came out of our research is really that we are asked to play two very distinct roles. We're asked to be the corporate police, right? So to protect the company, to manage policy, to handle disciplinary actions, that kind of thing when it comes up. And at the same time, we're supposed to be advocates for the employees, right? And these are completely at odds, right? It's like asking us to be the defense attorney and the prosecuting attorney at the same time. So one of the things that we advocate for in the book is something similar to what we had at Nokia, where you have investigations handled by a separate department like legal, or even better to do it in an ombuds department that's completely separate, right? But you can't do that if you're in a smaller company, right? Or a mid-sized company. HR has to continue to wear those hats. So how do we find that balance? How do we create trust with employees while also, balancing the need to serve two different masters there?
But I think it comes back to what is actually our job. And I would agree with Eric. I mean, essentially, we are also a business function, different than sales, but still a function that's here to help the company be successful. And that means also we work for our board and the supervisory board to ensure the company is as successful as possible. But part of that is raising our voice to talk about how do we become a successful company also from an employee side. If you don't treat employees correctly, if you can't build trust from the company to the employees, they don't want to work with you. They will leave you. Attrition will get out of hand. People don't go the extra mile. So we represent the company, but our task is also to think about it from a human side. What actually constitute a company where people thrive, where they are the best, where they can perform and essentially help make the company successful.
Yeah. I like to think of it as we're responsible for the human beings in the organization, first and foremost, right? Mm-hmm. And Sergio, in our chat, when we had our podcast recently, we were talking a lot about AI and how it's going to impact HR. My hope is that AI will help us with some of these very situations, like perhaps we can use it to, let's deploy it on policy, managing policy, making sure people are taking their training and, signing all the documents and all that stuff, kind of pull us out of some of those activities and put an interface there. That way the human beings can really focus more on the human aspects, the hiring the best talent, developing that talent, building the right environment, creating that experience for employees, but also balancing that with the business. Because yes, you're right, we are a business function and we're here to help the company be successful. So what do you all think about AI and how it's going to impact HR in the future?
First of all, I think the introduction of AI, looking forward, especially when we will move forward with agentic AI or physical AI, so we go to the next level of AI, is a unique opportunity for HR to grow in the value chain of the company and to become even more relevant from the business point of view. Because in my view, the main challenge with the introduction of AI will be build an organization that can learn can upskill itself at the pace of AI. So we'll be able to have the right skills, the right people with the right skills and mindset in due time. And here HR is where can, even using the AI technology, support the company. For example, with fostering a way of learn that is more in the flow of work and less decoupled from the context, and move forward. So this is the first one. So I think the role of HR will be essential. And second, to guarantee psychological safety. When AI will be massively introduced, we will have a huge problem of psychological safety within the companies. And that can be, again, a limiting factor for the speed of the company to be able to increase their competitiveness in the business as per the technology can do. And third, I think AI in HR will be a great tool for in smaller size, mid-sized company that today don't have the possibility to eventually to have enough people to deliver coaching, to deliver a career development support or whatever. Technology will be able probably to do this at a reasonable cost. So it will possibly open to HR in smaller company the possibility again to grow in the value chain and deliver more advanced services. So I think when we talk AI and HR, we should look at the three components. How is going to change HR? How is going to change the company? And what HR can do to make this change seamless and effective. And third, enabling smaller company to go to the next level of HR services, taking advantage of the technology.
Absolutely. And it's so interesting because in a lot of the conversations that I've been having lately about AI, what is starting to really emerge is that HR is leading the AI effort, or they're partnering as equal partners with the CIO to lead the AI effort, because it's really more about change management than the actual tool itself, right? Yes. So the CIO is handling the technical elements, but the biggest barrier to entry is that change, that, oh my gosh, is this going to take a job? How do I use it? Are there going to be data leaks, hallucinations, all of those things? And so you're seeing a lot more and more of that partnership with those two functions.
If you think about, Amy, you are spot on. I think needs to be a partnership between HR, the CHRO and the CIO in some way. And the role of HR is broader because operating model will change. Organization will need to change. Leadership behavior will need to adapt. Skills of the people will need to move forward. And change management as an umbrella of everything to guarantee psychological safety and moving on. So this is why I say is an opportunity for HR to become more relevant business-wise in the company. So what I say, growing the value chain in the company is possible. I'm afraid, if I can say something be provocative, that you have two options. One, to grow, and the other one to become irrelevant. That's in my view what can happen. If you are able to embrace the change and move forward, you can really grow in the company as HR. If you are not able, honestly, the technology will replace you in a lot of administrative tasks and so on. So you will become irrelevant in the company, and someone else will take the role to drive the change. So I think it's important to have in mind this.
I agree. So Lisbeth, you're in a different industry. What do you think? Are you even exploring the concept of AI at this point?
Yeah, we are. I mean, but I think where I see it come in is more for our office-based workers, where we are bringing in AI in the same way as I think other companies in the normal way, we are the normal tools. So we see that very much there also on our production sides, and we are a quite heavy production company. I see the discussion about automation and robotic coming quite heavily. And that is probably the first kind of discussion, really. And of course, we are already very automized, but continuing down that road. For us, it will be challenges like how do we get the right people going forward? And how do we get them fast enough up to speed? So how can we make the speed from them entering the company to actually really being productive? That will really be a topic. And I'm sure AI can help, but it's not the discussion big time that's there with us yet. It is really on the office-based workers.
Gotcha. Well, one of the things you just had me thinking about is in more of like the industrial space where you're working with hardware or a physical product, Something that Nokia was doing, Eric, when we did our tour of Asia, we got to see a lot of these demonstrations live where they were using the metaverse for training. So you could actually have like a virtual version of that piece of equipment. You could be sitting in a completely different spot somewhere, but you're able to, put the glasses on and be able to interact with a virtual piece of equipment and learn how to repair it, for example. I thought that was really cool. I actually thought that the metaverse was going to take off a lot more than it did. I mean, I thought we were going to have a lot more in the metaverse space, but I'm sort of wondering if we'll have a resurgence once we've got AI deployed, and then you start, bringing in additional robotics, and then you need to train people all over the world. Is the metaverse going to come back in that sense? What do you guys think?
I think the metaverse will come back. It's just a change in priority in some way in the last 2 years, 3 years that happened, moving more towards AI and be less about the metaverse. But the combination of the two, in my view, will be extremely powerful, both in terms of automation, but also in terms of upskilling and reskilling as fast as the technology will evolve. So I don't think the metaverse is finished. I think just a bit slowed down because the priority moved in another direction, but it will come back. One of the biggest problems of the metaverse is that you need physical tools to be able to really to take it over. And these tools were sometimes or too expensive or changing so frequently that doesn't enable a massive use of that. But I'm fully convinced that it will come back soon.
Yeah.
I think sometimes we get so caught up in the tool itself. It's all new and exciting. I think a lot of these things will come back, but they will come back, like the metaverse will come back from a more practical perspective. It will not be driven by the idea about a metaverse. It will be driven by actually here it makes sense. And then you see it come in from where does it make sense? For us, it might make sense as really a training opportunity for our factory workers. How do we get electricians up to speed really fast when they join the company? So I think we will see it come in from a more pragmatic angle somehow.
Yeah, I think AI is bringing kind of a multi-layered type of transformation. I mean, the way the companies are going to be run, the way leaders lead, the way employee works, everything is transforming at the same time. And I mean, there's a huge case for change management, transformation, on rework on a true workforce strategy, because we're just at the beginning of this transformation, and you have all the balls in the air, all the balls moving at the same time. Yeah, I think that's where the role of HR has become so critical, because at the end of the day, do we have the people today to make the company successful tomorrow? That's a big question. So we need to, as Sergio was saying, reskill them. We need to bring new talents. We perhaps need to exit some people. At the same time, there's a broader sociological impact on societal impact on which going to be a big topic, obviously, because I don't think companies can operate for long in isolation if the society collapses because of so many people losing their job or kind of being in disarray, not jumping on the new technology. Then it's going to impact everyone. So it's a big thing ahead of us, I think.
I want to just complement what Eric was saying, because it's absolutely true. Probably we need also to think to redesign a bit the relationship between industry, academy, government, and individuals, because in order to face all these change, it is societal at the end. We need to have more actors working together to be able to do it. And for example, what we need from students is not only that they have qualification when they finish university, but they have the critical thinking and the agility to be able to embrace this continuous change. And we would like already the academy to start to prepare them instead to have to do by ourselves in a company. So I think there is a big topic that is really impacting the society that needs to be considered.
I wonder if in a few years from now, I mean, right now there's still a little fear, but people are dipping their toes in the AI space and checking it out. I wonder if we're going to find that it becomes just another tool, like Microsoft Excel, right? You learn it along the way. It's a tool that you use for productivity, but I don't know. I mean, I'm curious to see where this goes and how this evolves the workplace, and what does that mean? What are the implications for HR? My personal hypothesis is that it will replace the first few layers of HR positions, but certainly not all, because you're going to need human beings interacting with human beings in the workplace, and that's going to continue. But I think what it will do is elevate our role, right? Is making us more the true experts, the strategic players that are building out the strategy for hiring the right people, developing that talent, building out an overall workplace strategy. But it's going to create a problem, because where are we going to get the talent that's coming in at this level when in HR, nobody grows up thinking, oh, when I grow up, I want to be in HR. It's something that you tend to fall into. Everybody on this call has fallen into HR, right? I mean, Jeff and Sergio, you guys were both in the business before, right? And it's kind of, you accidentally fall into it sometimes. So one of the things that we're developing at Big Band is building out an academy, right? So that when you deploy AI and you decide, well, geez, this is going to replace, several of my entry-level folks, and I've got 2 rock stars I want to hold on to, you can accelerate their learning so they can come in as a junior business partner, something like that, right? Give them the training that they need to hit the ground running at those levels. But what do you think? How do you think this whole thing's going to evolve?
I think, this might be a rather bold opinion, but I think HR is going the way that quality and the CTO roles have gone. Quality got subsumed, into the agile and the DevOps roles. And the whole statistical thing has now been being done by AI. And the CTO role is evolved into the CIO role now. And I think you have to sort of now start to reimagine HR for the future. And I think when we worked with you, I think you were very sort of maybe ahead of your time, maybe you understood the operational aspect of things being different. They're kind of the natural home that your automation goes just by default, right? They're the process heavy activities, delivery of training, all the policies and stuff. And then there's the engagement part of the role. And even now you're seeing agents that can do coaching and mentoring. Yeah. All right. And they're pretty good. So now where is HR as the humans in all this? And has anybody ever watched Billions, the TV show?
No, I haven't seen it.
Yeah, there's a role in there that I've always admired the way they structured it. Wendy is sort of she plays this role where she's a blend of things. She's an executive coach. She's a behavioral strategist, and she's an inner circle advisor. And it's almost like a futuristic role. I was thinking, man, if I could have a role like that, that'd be just fantastic, because it really it leverages what I don't think AI can do yet, which is the psychology, the deep psychological aspect of things like change and leadership. If you get a chance to just watch it, I would highly recommend it, because I think that is the future of HR, where you're more, the engagement is more about helping employees with the constant uncertainty, anxiety. I see it around here. And our job is to kind of keep everybody calm and say, look, this is the new reality. It's change. You need to be able to live in a very unstable, changing environment and be okay with that. It's a constant anxiety that you have to kind of get used to as part of the new way of working.
It's so true. And, it started with COVID, I think. I mean, we entered into this global mental health crisis, but it just keeps going. It's like every day there's something that's driving anxiety, and it impacts employees. It impacts people on the job. Those stress levels are very distracting. But, how do you say to people, you just have to get used to a level of stress that's up here and not let it distract you, right? That's a real challenge.
You used to do this really well, though. You're like, everybody take a breath, right? It's just work. Everybody relax. Let's work the problem.
Yeah, just chill. It's just a job. It's just a job.
I think also it's about finding back into what is actually the core of HR. sometimes, because I do think a lot of change, there will be a lot of change in how we would do our roles, in the same way as there will be a lot of change in other areas. But actually, what is the core of doing HR? There's a business part to it, but there is this part about creating an environment where people are happy, they like going to work, and we get the best performance out of them. And I think we have to have a discussion about what does that mean. It means, good culture, values, good leaders, some of the kind of very fundamental things that I actually think all of us want. And how do we then go in and work with them in a world where technology is changing all around us all the time?
Right. And one of the things we used to say is, remember that you're not only in HR, you're also an employee, right? So what kind of environment do you want? What support and resources do you need to be the most effective in your job? What is impacting your personal morale in this moment? And what could we do to help? Right? You can't make people happy all the time, but you can give them the things they need that are going to eliminate the distraction, just get the noise level down so they can focus. Here's a question I have for you guys. You probably heard about this in the press, but there is an organization that recently got rid of all of HR. It said, we don't need HR anymore. We're going to use AI. What do you think about that decision?
I'd wonder what their definition of HR is and what they got rid of.
That's a good point.
Because if you can get rid of it, then, it makes me wonder what exactly.
Do they have no payroll, or have they given that to AI?
That's not unusual. People, Nokia outsources payroll to us. That's pretty standard stuff. That's the operational stuff.
But you still need a connection back to the organization, right?
Yeah. What I hear is that maybe their HR department was not that mature yet. Or maybe the leaders working with HR was not that mature yet.
They didn't see the value.
I really like to see how this evolves. There was an experiment that Zappos had tried many years ago where they got rid of all managers and went with self-managed teams. And it's one of those things. I always like to watch companies do these experiments and see how it lands. But I don't personally see HR going away anytime soon.
Did it turn into like Lord of the Flies, or any idea how it panned out?
I think that what they had was they had natural people that sort of rose to leadership roles and kind of, people need direction. I was consulting with a company a while ago that was rudderless, didn't have a leader in the HR space. And so, they were just walking around like, I'm not sure what decisions I can make. I don't know what my purposes or it was chaos. So it makes you remember that people do need leaders to help guide them and give them direction.
Maybe there's something in that, Amy. It's like when you strip out all the leaders, then all of a sudden you end up with virtual leaders. That in itself is a message. That tells you what people need by default. You take it away and they recreate it one way or the other. Exactly.
Right. They just go to AI and say, well, how do I do this? Or what's my purpose? Right. Oh, it's so interesting. It's going to be really fascinating to see where this next few years goes. One of the things that is really interesting, and, we talk about this sort of global mental health crisis and the stress levels going up and up and up, and us just demanding that people adapt and just, kind of get over it and keep going. One of the things that's interesting, and we're basically practicing attorneys and practicing psychologists. We just don't have the same qualifications. But one of the things in the psychological profession is you're required to have your own therapist, right? Because you're taking in everybody's stuff. You need a place to be able to release it. What do you think HR teams need to do? Because burnout is very real. I burnt out, What do you think HR needs to do for itself to maintain its own sanity, if you will?
It's a really difficult question, isn't it?
I guess back to the question is you need a calming force, and it doesn't have to be just one person with that role. It's sort of a collective, let's manage our anxiety collectively on this. And when we see somebody kind of going off the rails, we're there to support. That's the human aspect of the intervention, right? It's like, hey, it's just work. We'll figure it out. And I think you did a good job of that. It's like there was a major change, right? Everything got outsourced to the service company, and there was a massive change management exercise that I think you led the team through pretty well. It's pretty disruptive.
Yeah.
So I also feel it always comes back to the clarity of your mission. And you go crazy when actually you're trying to do everything at once. So I feel what we have to do is to manage expectation both ways with the employees. Don't promise anything you cannot deliver, but with also top management, make sure that we have a line of work in front of us which is achievable. And because you go crazy when somehow you don't know what you have to deliver, and the mission goes in all directions.
I think there's something about acknowledging that it is stressful for everybody.
Mm.
I mean, all of us here have been in stressful situations, so you are not alone.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, to a large degree, what people feel, or what I feel, or what you feel, is normal because we all going through it. For me, for example, I need to have my sleep, so I really got conscious about getting sleep. I went to a lady associate professor talking about sleep. After that, I make sure I try and get my sleep. You have to find things to make it acceptable for you. I had a period where I was more junior. I thought everybody around me is getting fired. Who knows what will happen to me? And, I said to myself, the worst thing that can happen is I get fired, I move back to Denmark, and then I drink white wine with my girlfriends on Tuesday evenings. Maybe life goes on.
Can't do that here.
No. Work is not everything. There is life outside work, and you have to find your balance somehow.
That's the word right there. It's balance. And let me tell you, for 30 years in the profession, I did not have that balance until I just burnt out. And I've spent the last couple of years really trying to find that balance. And so I actually have this, you guys know, I have this office space that I've got my business in one area. I've got all my Star Wars stuff next door in another room. And I've got my quilting in this room over here so that I can kind of, okay, I need a break. I'm going to go quilt for an hour, right? Or I'm going to go just, hang out with Darth Vader and try and forget about everything for a moment. It's that balance. We've got to be able to define that in HR because there's so much that we take on here. You take on these things. I remember at Nokia, there was an inflation crisis in some of our key countries, and there wasn't anything that we could do. And just you feel so bad, and you take on that feeling of despair for those people. But you've got to take a breath and step back. It's not about me. It's about these people. Is there a solution? What can we do? If not, how do we communicate that out? But I think balance is really, really critical for us in our profession to just keep saying. Right. Here's the last question I want to throw out there because I found this hilarious. I've seen this a few times when I was doing the research for the book and when I sought feedback. There's a perception out there that HR is a cushy job, that it's easy and that it's for those with lower IQ, that kind of a thing. I personally, I find that ridiculous because it is so far from cushy. As a matter of fact, I would say it is exactly the opposite. It is a very difficult position, and you can burn out quite easily. What do you guys think?
I think that's up there with, teachers have it made because they have the summers off.
Right.
I think that's just try it first before you make that kind of judgment.
But many HR jobs are not protected by a very visible technicality. So a lot of leaders in the company, they believe, okay, I can do that. The technicality of the profession is fairly deep, so it's not seen like that. And that's why people believe it's easy. But a lot of people who join HR from different other functions, they realize very fast that actually, because you're not protected, it's also very difficult to show the value add you bring to the organization. But the value add is there. If it's that easy, then we're very clever to have made this our profession. No?
Yeah.
Why would you go somewhere difficult?
I think really HR is coming from the business like Jeff and having experienced HR for many years. I think HR there is this strange dynamic. The output and the impact is overestimated by the company. So a change should happen in weeks, when it happened in years, probably, if not months or years. So there is an overestimation of the output and the impact, and there is an underestimation of the complexity of what we do. But what I have learned is that what you can achieve from the business point of view from HR is by far bigger than what we can achieve in most of the business position. So is a big reward for me, having seen this impact, but for sure, we need to cope with this. And coming back to what Eric was saying, probably we as HR have not been good enough in show up the complexity and the importance of what we do sometimes. I can see this because it's amazing the impact that HR has on the company, but sometimes it's not visible.
It's true. It's true. What do you think, Lisbeth?
Well, I love my job. So to a certain degree, I don't really care what anybody else thinks. I think we add a lot of value to the business. I think we add a lot of value to hopefully the people who works in the companies we work with. And, people will always have an opinion about something.
I'm the same, Lisbeth. I did a master in HR, and I knew that was the thing for me. And it has been the best career choice I've ever made. And really, I went out of HR for 2-3 years, twice, but I was so happy to come back, even if I liked it. But I think it's also the type of function where you expose when you're in a leadership team, you expose yourself to all the different professions. You have really a company level type of understanding with a special angle. And and you have a closeness, a proximity to top leadership where only with their HR they're having some kind of conversation, and that's very rewarding. And actually, quite often the impact you will get is not visible to others, and it's good this way.
Yeah,
it's not supposed to be visible.
And I'm with the two of you. I mean, this is absolutely the profession I was meant to be in. I mean, hello, look at my name, right? I was born for this. But you do have to have a very thick skin to be in HR, because you get blamed for everything, and you get the complaints coming in, and you're vilified a lot of the time. But if you know that what your intention is positive. I mean, I'm always like, I'm trying to do the best thing I can for employees, and sometimes I can't, and that sucks. But it's part of the profession. You just keep going because you love what you do.
We're not always criticizing HR. There's a lot of time where actually we get compliments, we get thank you, we get rewards from the broader organization. So let's remember this time, because I've never felt it was a profession where I was always under attack. Quite often you're part of the team and you get your fair share of reward and appreciation. So it's a good place.
I love it too.
We need, as HR professional, to be more courageous, to be more honest with our stakeholders, particularly the employees. And that's where we quite often fail. If people can trust that what we say we will deliver, then that's fixing a large part of the problem. But we've been pushed too many times in doing a lot of crazy marketing BS of values, of culture. A company is not truly dedicated to deliver. And that's where, at the end of the day, we fail everyone.
Yeah.
If we're not true to the value we define, the culture we want to build in an organization, it's going to fail. It's not going to land. And we know that.
I think he's got a point, is that HR tends to take the blame for a lot of things that are outside sort of the HR remit. It just kind of lands like being the goalie. The ball goes in, guess who gets blamed?
Yeah. That's true. And that's why we're here to fix that and make those changes. Well, thank you so much, everybody, for your time. This is such a great discussion. I am so happy to have you all together again. I mean, we'll talk again next month in our coffee talk, but I'm so happy to have you all here. I adore you all.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Amy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Ciao, ciao.